You're tuned into and listening to the Philip Lynott Podcast.
Like that. I was in Aberdeen, Scotland. I was having a bath with a little transistor radio on the windowsill, and Whiskey in the Jar came on. And I thought, who the hell's that? Man, I'd never heard anything like it. So, you fast forward 10 years or whatever, and I'm playing with the band.
And you were playing with Manfred Mann on Top of the Pops, and Thin Lizzy were also playing on the same episode.
Aye, that's right.
Is that the first day you met Phil? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, but just sort of in the passing. But that day, I struck up a friendship with Scott. When you do Top of the Pops, it's mimed, and
Yeah.
so you've got to do the cameras have got to be right, and you do it about 4 or 5 times, and they're priming the audience there, clap and shout and all this. So there's a lot of hanging around time. So
Yeah.
so I struck up a friendship with Scott, and we kept it going. I used to meet up, we'd go for a few beers and play darts and stuff. So that's kind of how I got to know them.
See that performance at Rosalie in 1978, Phil? What was your reaction to this guy?
He was not big time at all. I
Okay.
mean, it was like when you met the guy, he met you like we're talking just now. I mean, he was as interested in talking to you as you were as interested in talking to him. There's no sort of you know, I'm Phil. What do you think of me? I mean, there was none of that. Never saw him do that at all.
hmm
He was always a very gracious man. He wasn't a loud person. He was. I think he was just sitting taking a lot in. And he
Yeah.
was really a nice guy. Never saw him with the road crew and the rehearsals and stuff. I never saw him raise his voice or say anything against anyone.
So see the actual agreement to go in with Lizzie. How did that like come about? Was that just by fluke?
Well, like I say, because I mean, I knew Scott, and we'd been in touch quite a bit. When things happened, and I think it was Scott's roadie, Andy. I mean, I knew him quite well as well. And so when things happened in the States, when Gary left, I knew that they were going to be looking for a guitar player. So I just kind of got in touch with the office and said, if there's auditions going, I'd like to do that, and that's how I got it. Because they knew me, they knew that I could probably play.
Was it organized that you would meet and play with the whole band, or was it an audition, or?
In addition, I think it was out in Elstree or something. They had the whole setup, and so I when I went out there, I thought, well, obviously I was pretty nervous. But I remember, well, I thought, I got my guitar and we're just about, and Phil said, oh, come on, we'll go for a beer first. Okay, so the band they'd been auditioning all day or something. So we went for a beer, and Phil said, well, I hope you're better than that last guy. Apparently somebody had got through the net, and the chap before me, he got the audition. He turns up, and they didn't know who he was, but somehow he got the audition. And Phil said, "Yeah, we're about to say." And he said, "Well, Phil asked him what song he'd like to play." And apparently the guy said, "Well, you just start, and I'll follow you." And Phil went, "No, no, well, pick a song. We know what song you'd like to play." And the guy
Yeah.
said, "Well, yeah, just maybe Scott can tell me the parts, and yeah, we'll work it out." The guy hadn't a clue.
What did you play? Can you remember?
Yeah, I mean, we did. I think we played about 4 or 5 songs. I mean, that was like probably Jailbreak, probably Still in Love with You. I remember, yeah, Still in Love with You, Jailbreak. I mean, probably a lot of things, but from not from Black Rose, the earlier albums, stuff that I
Yeah.
would have. Yeah, and I remember we did that. We played about 3 or 4 songs, and then Phil, they're standing there, and Phil said, "Well, look, let's try this." And what's the two new songs? Was it Sweetheart and
Didn't
uh,
I?
didn't I? Yeah. And so he said, let's try this. So they'd never done it before. So Scott was playing it and I was playing it, and Scott and me worked out the harmony, da 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 da, and all that. So I thought, well, I felt pretty good about that. And then we did that a couple of times and played, and then it was the end of the edition. And Phil said, well, we said, we'll be in touch, Dave. We're pretty excited. Then I got a phone call, probably a couple of weeks later, maybe a very short space of time, saying, will you come to Japan with us? And I went, aye. So, I mean, there was no contract and financial agreements. I mean, they knew me, I knew them. They knew that if I said yes, then I would go.
So how did you get paid? And I'm not asking pounds, shillings, and
Oh,
pence,
no,
but I mean, was it
I don't
weekly or
know.
was it day by day?
I don't know. I think a couple of times I must have somebody probably just gave me an envelope for a few bucks.
The
Yes,
brown envelopes.
I predicted this. I said this the other night.
Brown
Thank you,
envelopes.
being an Aberdonian, I was able to count it with my hands still in the envelope.
What's the day on Top of the Pops like?
You get in there and you get a dressing room and you just sit there and there's somebody on. I mean, I think it's probably about 4 hours or something. I mean, you think, oh, I'm going to be in the TV, but it's boring. And I mean, there's pipe music going on and you've got to play to it, and everything's nothing's real. The audience aren't real. I mean, they're there, but they're told when to clap and when to be quiet and when to dance. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that when the music's playing and they're in a TV studio for the first time as well, and they see the bands that they like and they hear the music. So I'm sure it's good fun for them. But from the music point of view, it's a bit sort of anticlimactic, I guess.
You done Top of the Pops with Lizzy as well, Dave.
Yeah, Sarah, yeah, right.
How was Phil's mood that day? Because he's often said he doesn't like singing slushy love songs and he doesn't like lip syncing. So was he feeling a bit uncomfortable that day?
Well, it didn't matter doing Top of the Pops because it was miming. He didn't have to sing. So it's almost like money for nothing. You kind of get a day off. There's no pressure. There's no stress. You just got to sort of look okay and be able to stay vertical.
It promotes the record as well. It's something that had to be done, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, Top of the Pops was a great vehicle for bands to get known.
Lizzy in '79 were Jesus. They were fairly busy to say the least. Black Rose is released early in the year. You have the singles that are released and promoted with the promo videos. They're out on the road in the US, and then they're in the UK. Phil headed off for a couple of weeks to the Bahamas. After he got back from there, they were then back out to the US, and that's when the Gary Moore episode happened.
Right.
So I'm just kind of wondering, by the time that Major comes in and finishes off dates for them on that tour, by the time they get back to England, um, there's a planned performance in Reading that's cancelled, but there's not a huge amount of time before you get involved and you're off out to Japan. Is that a typical kind of life of a musician at that time? It seems very frantic.
The engine just keeps running and you've just got to go with it.
Yeah.
So if it's frantic, it's frantic. I mean, sometimes it's feast or famine. It's
Yeah.
sometimes it's frantic, and the next minute you're kind of, if the album or the songs don't do anything, you're not in demand anymore. So
That's quite a set that you have to learn fairly quickly. I'm just wondering what kind of prep you would have had to have done for that.
when I knew I got the audition, I mean, of course, I knew I'd all Thin Lizzy's records anyway. I mean, if you're a guitar player, you don't know any Thin Lizzy songs, you might as well go and play with the traffic. You know what I mean? So when I got word of the audition, I Manfred had a cottage up in Suffolk, so I got his cottage for about 5 days. I went up there with all the records and just ate it. for those 5 days because I was determined. I was determined when I went for the audition, I was going to make my mark. I was getting to play with Thin Lizzy, and I was going to make sure that it was worth the audition. That was it, you know. Lizzy's songs were not, they weren't too busy. You know, they weren't too complex. They were really good, honest, basic rock and roll songs. You know, so it wasn't like you were learning all these funny chords and all that flat and fifths, diminished 20ths, and all that stuff that I wouldn't know anyway. You know.
How disciplined were Thin Lizzy as a as a band to rehearse?
3 or 4 days, maybe 4 or 5 days. I mean,
Okay.
everything was on tape. I mean, Phil was in there like this. I mean, it's no secret that Phil used to enjoy a bit of marijuana, you know. And and I remember we'd be rehearsing and Phil's smoking as somebody's rolling joints from all the time. He's smoking all this stuff, like, and you'd think he'd be pretty stoned, you know. And then we'd finish a song and he'd say something to Brian, say, Brian, when we go into that chorus, could you make that Phil a bit more open or tighten that Phil? And he knew, and he was right. You know, I mean, he knew it. He was just like that. He was on all the time, you know. And of course, everything was as far as probably maybe because they were recording everything, you know, Phil probably listened to the cassette when he was getting driven home. And because maybe I didn't mess up too much, they thought, well, we haven't got to do too much rehearsing, you know. But I mean, I think it was just probably 3 or 4 rehearsals, and that was it, you know. Those rehearsals were for Japan, and I guess I mean I wasn't privy to that, but obviously Phil and Scott they chose the songs because they'd never been to Japan before. So I'm sure I wasn't privy to the conversations, but I'm sure they were sitting down and thinking, okay, which songs do we need? Do we think have been? They've probably found out which songs were popular in Japan anyway, and so I'm sure they were definitely going to make sure those were in the set.
Yeah.
Black Rose was dropped from the set for Japan. Was that because it was Gary's song? Or...
I I know I've no idea, but I can tell you I was really glad it was.
Kind of thought that. And I'm sure Scott was as well.
I've got no illusions about that. I mean, God, my goodness, that was just great, great playing.
What was the sound check routine? Kind of, was it 3 songs, just make sure we get the sound and we're good to go, or was it let's work on ideas?
Probably like that. The one thing that stood out in Japan before we did the first gig, we went down to the sound check or something in the afternoon, and the sound man or one of the roadies or the tour manager came up to Phil and said, "We've got a wee problem." What it was is that the promoter had said they couldn't provide all the lights that were required. And Phil said, he said, words to the effect of, tell the guy if there's no lights, there's no gig. This is Thin Lizzy, it's not Rory Gallagher. Yeah, which is no disrespect to Rory Gallagher, but I
No.
mean Rory Gallagher was just a player. I mean Thin Lizzy had a show, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there going, oh no, because I believed him. I thought, oh shit, man, I want to play this gig. Don't tell me I've come all the way out here and I'm not getting to play. But you know, within an hour, the trucks arrived with the full lighting rig, and it was and everything went according to plan. I'm sure it was important because they wanted to make the mark. But to be quite honest, I was just so focused on me keeping my act together. You know,
Yeah.
making sure. I mean, I was pretty nervous, and what made it worse that I think it was the first gig. I think I ordered a curry, and it came up, and there was something not right. It had a skin over it, and I ate it, and and that afternoon I was throwing up. I was ill, you know, and this is before the first gig, and I thought, oh my God! So I remember drinking liters of Coca-Cola to try and settle my stomach, and Phil said, look, Dave, just don't bother with the running around. Just stay back and just do what you got to do, you know. But then, of course, man, the thunder flashes went off, and it's on, you know. I was really perspiring a lot, but it was just, I mean, no matter how sick you are, I thought, oh yeah, this is going on. I'm just going to sit there like a clown. I don't think so. So, because although we'd done sound checks and we'd rehearsed, there were things that I had never thought of. Like we're standing there in the darkness, and I think I forget which song was it. Was it well, the opening song, whatever it was? But it starts. Yeah, it just goes bang, and there's this, and I'm standing there, and there's a thunder flash, a huge thunder flash right there, and I forgot all of that there was that. So that was so maybe that's what cured me. But so yeah, and it was on. So I mean,
Yeah.
you just it wasn't no matter how I felt, I wasn't going to let that get past me.
See, when you actually got the go ahead that you got the Lizzy gig and you were playing in Japan and stuff, were you like, did you have a feeling like, yeah, I
Oh
start
yeah,
playing
of
in Thin
course. Oh, I
Lizzy?
mean, oh yeah. I mean, it was. Oh man, I mean, it was like, gee whiz, just like you said, Kevin. God. I'm going to Japan with Thin Lizzy. Holy crap. Well, guy, kid, working class kid from Aberdeen, and this happens to you. I mean, it's all gratitude, you know what I mean?
What was your favorite song to play live with Lizzy?
Well, let me think. The lives. Well, I mean, I really enjoy playing Alibi, waiting for an alibi. I think that's one of Phil's best songs. And I really enjoyed Still in Love with You. Um,
Yeah.
when you get something like that, like a song "Still in Love with You" with that amazing guitar solo, you've kind of, you can't just go on there and play what you think. I mean that guitar solo is just very, very. It's one of the best. There was a song we did. Was it "Do Anything You Want to Do"? It starts with Downey, and it's like a prump a dump a dump. It's like a timpani thing, right?
Yes.
So, so we get to Japan and we're at the first sound check. I remember now, and I'm standing there, Scott's over there, and I look down and there's this huge copper timpani with two beaters sitting on top of it, my side of the stage and Scott's side of the stage. And
Yeah.
I'm going, "Oh, what's what's going on here?" And so I very quickly found out that Scott and I and Downey, when the song started, we're playing together. And then we've got to put them down, get on the guitars and go. That I didn't expect that, I can tell you. But so that threw me.
So that was the rehearsal.
No, no, I didn't. There was not a timpani in sight when I was at
At some point, Yamaha come to Lizzy. I'm not sure if that was.
So Yamaha came down and they wanted us to get photographed with the guitars, which was fine before the sound check. And then they asked if we'd use the guitars in one song. Well, I mean, it's bad enough me playing with Lizzie for the first time. I'm going to use my own guitar. I'm
Yeah.
not using a guitar that I've never touched before. Scott decided, to play one on one of the songs.
Yeah.
So the concert's going on, the gig's going on, and I look around and Andy gives Scott the Yamaha guitar, and the photographers are there, and we start playing the song. I forget which song it was, but the guitar it goofed, it stopped working. So for some reason, instead of Scott just getting Andy, his guitar tech, to take it and give him a new guitar and get on with it, Scott decides to mess about with it. And then his guitar tech comes out, Andy, and I'm looking across, and they're both messing about with this jack plug and this stupid guitar. And so Phil just looked at me and went, so I just went for it. And for most of that song, Scott was not playing. And I took my solo and I think I ran across to the other catwalk and did Scott's one as well. So I felt good because for once I was the only guitar player on Thin Lizzy. You know, um,
Was it a case of, there's a couple of gigs in Manchester, um, and were they always on the cards for you, or was
no,
there?
I was just I was not part of the kind of the goings on and the planning. I went in Japan, came back, and that was kind of it. I mean, I knew it came down to like me and Snowy White, and then the two gigs at Christmas, and I just got the phone call and said, "Will you do the Christmas gigs for us?" And Snowy was still, I think he was still doing something with Pink Floyd.
Yeah, they were going out early in 1980, Pink
So,
Floyd. So
so they just said, will you come and do the Christmas gigs with us?" And of course I would, you know. So that's so as far as what was planned or not in the cards or whatever, I was not privy to any of that.
And I think at one of the Manchester shows was that Christmas single. Was that played?
Oh,
That-
is that the Greedies? Was it the
Yeah,
Greedies that played that? Yeah.
that's it. um, it was Kit Wolven. He had a great line about it. Because who's the who's the DJ that
It was Kid Jensen. He says
Kid
it
Jen-
will last the test of time.
it'll stand the test of time. And Kit replied, "It didn't stand the test of Christmas." Um, but you know, but a bit of fun at the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, when you played with Lizzy, did you play it? What was it you were playing? Was it like a Gibson Les Paul standard?
I bought a black Gibson Les Paul from Rick Derringer when we were in the States. I bought his DiMarzio pickups in it. I had that. It had a tuning problem, so I had another Gibson Les Paul, and then I believe when we got to Britain, I think I had a Les Paul Special, the yellow TV model, the
Okay.
lightweight tones, it did really well. I mean, in fact, I think Pete, the sound man, said that the blend between those pickups and the pickups on Scott's guitar, he said
Yeah.
it was the most fun he'd had with guitar sounds. It seemed to blend pretty well, you know. So yeah, so it was the Les Pauls. Sure.
What was your pedal setup like? Do you have a wah and just like
Yeah, just I just basically plugged into Gary's setup.
okay.
It was there, and I mean I'm not I'm when it comes to the sounds, I'm I'm not really good at that. I just sort of switch it on and hope for the best, you know.
Okay.
But there was a wah wah pedal. I think there was probably, I mean, there were a few things that I didn't use, but I mean, I sort of I just relied on the amp and the Les Paul. There was a reverb, probably some a wah wah pedal at one point, but I mean, I was running around too much.
How did you
Yeah.
find the reaction of the Japanese audiences?
Great. Yeah, apparently, I mean, I seem to remember that it was customary in Japan that audiences weren't allowed to stand up. They
yeah,
had to
that was always what you always heard. Yeah.
stay seated. For somehow it changed, or because there was a little buzz about that, you know. Apparently, that was the first time it happened. They were all standing up and running down to the front of the stage, and apparently that had been a no-no. You know, I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it was very, very well received. It was quite strange because there was myself and Phil and you know and Scott but Midge, because Midge was just getting Ultravox together. I mean, he was it was like we were the rock and roll band with a spaceman, you know,
Yeah.
because all the new age style of dressing, I guess, the fashion. So yeah, so it was a bit different, but yeah, it was Midge's a nice guy. We got on well.
Was there much of a social element, for the band in between gigs? Was there time to not
No,
socially,
no,
but was there
we
much
just
time?
we go in the bar and just just have a few drinks, I guess. I mean, there was no, I mean, it was pretty regimented, you know. I mean, there was a lot going on, and I mean, for all I know, maybe I presume some of the time Phil was probably involved doing interviews for maybe Japanese magazines, and
Yeah,
perhaps Scott was as well. So, but there was not, there wasn't much hell raising if that's what you were getting at. No,
no,
it was pretty subdued. Yeah.
it's one of the things you'd often hear. I suppose when you're on tour, you're working, you're city to
Aye,
city, and so on.
yeah,
But you'd often hear of people saying, I've been to these great cities, that have various things to go and visit, sightsee for the most part, and there's just no time to do any of that. And it seems like you're traveling the world. Music is the passport kind of thing, as corny as it sounds, but there just isn't the space to be able to maybe take advantage of what various cities have on offer,
When the first time yeah, it's exactly right. The first time I went with Manfred, we went to America for 6 weeks, I think, and it was like just as you said, we're traveling, we're playing, we're traveling, we don't get to see any museums and then when you get back home, it's like obviously it was the first time I'd experienced that. You've had 6 weeks of it's like one long day. It's like Groundhog Day. And so I come back to London after 6 weeks, and people have lived their lives for 6 weeks. One of my friends actually had their baby. Another friend had moved apartments. Another friend had bought a car. Like everyday life. Whereas with me, it's like they say, "Oh, you were in Chicago, man. What was New York like? Oh, you went." And I'm going, "Well, it was yeah. The Holiday Inn was the same as the Holiday Inn." And so it's yeah. So you're dead right. It's like people think, "Oh, yeah, you're traveling all over the place. You don't get to see anything." If you get a couple of days off, you're really lucky. But
Ted Carroll, one of their early managers, he said, like Lizzie's road crew were a very tight knit group. They were a band who socialized with the roadies, who it's almost as if that type of relationship was encouraged in many respects, that they were friends. Did you see that? I mean,
that's what it felt like to me. That felt like to me. I mean, they were really. It was like one big happy family.
And have you seen the flip side of that with other bands?
I really don't know. I mean, you hear stories about this here and there, but I think it's all down to the personalities of the people involved. I mean, if you've got a business and you've got people working for you, you know, how you treat them is how you treat them. I mean, you get good bosses and not so good bosses. So, I mean, I think a lot the way I looked at it is that, and maybe that's how Thin Lizzy look at it, is that you're only as good as your road crew. I mean, they can make you sound really good. For you to do your best, you need them. It's like symbiotic relationship, I guess. That's how I would look at it.
There's a lot of stories that go around about Thin Lizzy playing Aberdeen and stuff, and you played Ritzies in 1981.
So I went up to Scotland. There was a death in the family, and so I went up. I went up for the funeral, and they were playing that night. I didn't know, so I just went down to the sound check to say hello. And Phil said, "Oh, you have to come up for Rosalie." So
Right.
that's what happened. And of course, you know what it's like in a town like Aberdeen. It was Thin Lizzy were playing, and they got this much in the paper, and I got this much in the paper. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
Local boy makes good sort of stuff. But
yeah,
they
yeah,
were
yeah.
they went down really well, though. I mean, they were really really great. I mean, God, it was Aberdeen. I mean, you get to play with Thin Lizzy in your hometown. My God, I thought I certainly kind of messed this one up. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody in the Japanese audience knew me, but all my pals were there. I knew a lot of my friends were in the audience to see Lizzy, so I had to come up with the goods. It was very nice of them to invite me up. It was really good. Somebody like Scott, for instance, I think Scott is probably one of the most underrated guitar players around. I
Right.
mean, he's kind of, you think, well, there's been Gary, the amazing, amazing virtuoso, and Robbo's been great. I mean, Eric Bell started off. But when you think of the history of Lizzy, I mean, Scott's been that anchor, and Scott's playing is great. I mean, he's really on. I mean, guitar players have got this thing where they like to pinch a little bit, steal a bit from each other, but they don't show you how they did it.
Yeah.
I'd say Scott, he would show me exactly what I was playing. I mean, no problems whatsoever. And he's Have you listened to like when everybody went away and he was on his own and he had to play, was it whatever album it was, he always came up with the goods. I mean, Scott's really great player.
So who was your favorite guitar player like throughout the whole Lizzy ranks?
Well, I mean, I think they each had brought their own character to the band. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, Robo was great. I mean, that was, I mean, that Scott and Robo, they kind of sort of invented the guitar harmonies. I mean, that was wonderful. I mean, earlier on, Eric Bell was, the whiskey in the jar and that stuff. Eric's a great player. And then
Oh, yeah.
you put Gary in there. So I mean, there's no you really they each brought their own identity to it, but it still remained Lizzy. I mean, it was still Phil and Thin Lizzy, and the man's out there doing the business, and it doesn't matter. He could have had Eric Clapton, David Gilmore, he could have anybody else in the band. It would have still been Thin Lizzy because there was just something about it,
Yeah, definitely. Do you think it was because Phil was so like honest emotionally that he connected with the audience so much?
Really great songwriters. They managed to tap into to the people's core, and I think that the lyrics that apart from the music, the lyrics that Phil would come up with, if you listen to them and you listen to the music, I think you start looking at this movie and you could be in it. You relate to it. It's all about relation. It's I mean everything and the music. I always think that less is more. And I think Lizzy were probably a testament to that. I mean, there was no big complex arrangements and blah blah. It was very, very, very down to earth stuff that people could relate to. Anyone can write a song, but there's not everybody can be a songwriter.
But what's your overriding memory of Phil as you look back and you go, yeah, I played with that guy. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
How do you kind of describe someone that was larger than life, but extremely humble? It's because that's what he was. I mean, he really was kind of. He had this charisma about him that he was Mr. Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
I mean, he just had it. I mean, he was an extremely gifted individual, and a lovely man.
Was there an occasion to go back to Phil's mum's hotel, or was it?
Oh yeah, I mean, when they played Manchester, the Manchester United soccer team, they all came along. I mean, they were big fans, so they went back to Phil's mum place or her bed and breakfast. Yeah, so it was quite a party. It was crammed.
Yeah.
So that was interesting because two things interested me. It was funny there. One was Phil came up to me halfway through the party and said, "Hey Dave, my ma says that I should keep you in the band." And I said, "Your ma's got excellent judgment, Phil." But and then another thing was I was standing there and there's few people there, and I think this couple of girls from the Phil's record company or something, and I was just standing there and they were behind me talking, and they heard one of them saying, "Brian Robertson played really well tonight." That was funny.